howl of the wolf fills a lonely canyon high above the desert land they call Chacote. The flint strikes the steel, a cloud conceals the final stand, and the noble fall of the great here. Stay safe, stay warm, and you stay free with Chacote Outdoor Recreation.
Hey, Bill here with Chacote Outdoor Recreation. So, I guess you're wondering, hey, what's this video going to be about, Bill? This looks pretty interesting. Well, let me tell you. Recently, I redid a rifle that I got online. It was a Thompson Center Hawken, great rifle, and I rebrowned the barrel. I did that for the kid, and it's going to be a gift for him. And then I started to put together the box, you know, of equipment that you need to shoot the gun. And as I was doing that, I thought, you know, I bet a lot of this stuff that I kind of take for granted, I learned the hard way over the years, I bet a lot of people don't know that stuff about muzzleloading. Or somebody just got a muzzleloader rifle, you know, maybe brand new, they just got one, and they're thinking, gee, how do I shoot this thing? What are some things? What are some safety concerns? And that's what this video is going to cover. So stick with me, it's going to get pretty interesting. I want to show you, you know, a typical shooting box you're going to see out at the range when you muzzleload. Some of these things are huge. I mean, here's my old one in the back there, the green one. You can see that's a pretty big box. And, you know, you carry everything but the kitchen sink in there. And some of them are made out of wood. They're pretty elaborate. A lot of these guys are carpenters or know a carpenter. And they make some very huge shooting boxes to hold a lot of stuff. Well, I recently put together this small kit for that Hawken. And I want to show it to you. This is it right here. And you can see, I'll get that in the camera there. It says Hawken right on it. And it's very small. You probably recognize this box from one of the big box stores. You know which one I'm talking about. And you can see, very small box, very lightweight, but does it contain everything you need to shoot? Does it contain all the essentials you would need for a fun day at the range? And yes, it does. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to show you all the things I use to shoot. And if you got a new muzzleloader, maybe this will help you, you know, figure out what it is you actually need to get going. Okay, well, let's go pretty deep inside this box that I put together. And take some of the mystery out of it. This is kind of a micro setup here. You know, this is not very common. Usually these boxes are very big, but this is a micro one I set up for the for my son. Like I said, the top says Hawken, so you know what rifle it goes to. Leather-covered handle. It's got a lock for the clasp on shock ring, so that way it can never come accidentally done and spill your stuff all over the ground. I know we've all had that happen before. Not fun. But here's what's in it. If you look over here, I've got eyes and ears in this little package right here. And then, of course, I've got your standard stuff. I've got your number 11 percussion caps. I got a thing of WD-40. I've got some rounds. Those are maxi balls. Another thing of percussion caps, number 11. Here's a very small, for this kit. It's made by Thompson Center, and it works really good with the Hawken. This is a nipple wrench, and I'm going to show you what that goes to. I got a little multi-tool in here. Over here, I've got your cleaning accessories, things you need to clean the weapon. You've got a jag in there, a swab, and you've got a brush. And of course, those are caliber specific, and this one's set up for 50 caliber, which is what that Hawken is. Let's see if I can get that back in there nice and neat like I had it. Okay, and then over here, I've got this is a palm saver. It goes on the end of your ramrod, and that thing is just worth its weight in gold, man. Especially on that third or fourth shot when you start to get fouling before you swab out. This can make the difference between getting that ball seated and not, especially on a cold day when your hands are cold and you've got arthritis. That little wooden tool right there, that little palm saver, it's worth it. It's worth the money. One of the tools I really enjoy having in a kit. I've got a speed loader in here for them. I've shown how these use in the past. This is a typical Butler Creek speed loader, and they are just phenomenally great. Then I've got a nice bullet board right here with some preloaded balls and patches, and that's a speed loader for a muzzleloader. It makes things a little faster on you. Okay, and I've got the standard powder measure, so you can measure out your grains of powder. I've got of course the capper what's also known as the thumb saver. People disregard this tool all the time. They think it's just decorative or a cool way to keep your cats or store your cats, but this thing can keep your thumb from blowing off. I'm going to show you that in the video as well. And a nice powder flask. One of the nicest ones that I've seen in a while. I won this one off of eBay, and it's kind of cool. Don't know what year it is, so I don't know if it's an antique or the real thing. It says made in USA, so in my mind that makes it an antique, because what's made in the USA anymore? So that's pretty cool. I wish I could get that in the camera view. Right at the tip of my thumb there, it says made in USA, which is amazing. This is reciprocal alcohol, which is what I use to swab the bore down with. That is absolutely incredible if you have that, because it lets you swab between shots and it dries real fast, and you can get another shot off pretty quick. And just some patches in here, and that's an entire kit right there. That should get you through a day of shooting at the range. If you can keep it all in there neat. I can't do it while I'm filming, but yeah, that's the basic setup right there. All right, well, let's take a look at it. As you can see, I put myself a snazzy on a Chacote. I put myself one of those snazzy, you know, key holder things on there, and that locks it up pretty good. It's on a Chacote, so that's kind of cool. Leather covered the handle. That makes it look pretty darn macho. That's completely covered in leather. But let's look inside, see what we've got here. Let's pop that thing open. You can see there's a lot in here, but it's just basically the essentials that you need to shoot. So what I've got is you know, some eye and ear protection, and I've got the stuff that you need to shoot. So let's say you just got the rifle and you're thinking, hey, I want to shoot it, what do I need to do? On the inside of the lid, I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not, but what I did was I put a recommended load data sheet on there, okay? Today we're going to be shooting the 54, and for the 54, it gives me the bullet size, it gives me the patch thickness, and it gives me the most accurate and the maximum charge. So the most accurate for me today in grains is 55 to 80. I'm going to go 80 grains. I'm shooting 2F. Well, I'm actually shooting Pyrex. It's a black powder substitute, and we'll get into that a little later, but that's what I'm going to need today. So I'm going to need 80 grains of the Pyrex. It's going to be my most accurate load. So that chart really helps me out. And to do that, what I'm going to need is a powder measure. That's the first thing. So we know how many grains. Now we just need a powder measure to make sure that we get that going. So let's do that. So I'm going to try to show you this on camera. This is a typical powder measure that you use, and it's adjustable. We're going to knock that thing out to 80 grains. That's 90. That's 80 grains right there. It's adjustable on the bottom, and that's what you use. And I'll explain to you real quick why you never fill from the powder horn or your flask. So basic recipe for black powder is, of course, powder, patch, ball, cap, boom, there you go. But it's not that simple. You've got your powder measure, and the reason that you use that, the reason you don't take the flask, let me get my flask here. The reason that you don't take the flask and just load right into the barrel from your flask or your muzzle loader like you see on the movies, if there's an ember in this barrel, if there's something still burning in here, some hot gases, anything, you're going to turn this or your powder horn into a pretty deadly grenade, and maybe kill yourself and kill those around you. So always, 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 from your flask to your measure to the barrel at the exact grainage for that particular rifle. It's 54. We're going to be doing 80 grains of Pyrex today. So let's start that out. We'll do it in real time, okay? To take the powder measure, we know it's already set at 80 grains, but we're gonna double check it. 80 grains, and we'll go from the flask. Whoop, there I am, from the flask into the powder measure. Okay, now once we have that in there, I'm gonna head and cap it off there. I'm gonna dump that right into the barrel. Okay, so first step one, powder into the barrel, 80 grains, from the flask only. Okay, so we've dumped 80 grains in there, and it's powder patch ball, so the next thing we're going to need is a patch and a ball. Okay, so we've got our patch. Got the end of the muzzle. We're going to center that over the end of the muzzle and take our ball, put it right down there, start it down with our finger, and we're going to get our ball starter. Okay, this is a typical, that's a typical ball starter right there, and we'll short start it. So we take the little end, give it a little tap. You got some muscle behind it. There we go. And then we take the longer end of the ball starter and get it the remainder of the 6 inches down the barrel. And we short started that. And now we're going to use our ramrod. And you know, you may ask yourself, hey Bill, I know you don't like plastic. What's the deal? Why do you always have a plastic ramrod? Well, if you've ever had one go through your hand, give you a nice scar on your hand, you'll know that running a wooden ramrod through your hand kind of ruins the day. It definitely shortens your hunt, because for the rest of the day all you can think of is, hey, I've got a big wooden ramrod sticking out of my hand. So the Duralin or the plastic ramrods, they're the way to go, man. You can bend them back and forth, they're not going to snap. They're pretty much unbreakable. Unless you really abuse it, it's pretty hard to break one. Another thing is, with your ramrod, you always want to make sure, and this is important guys, make sure that you completely seat that ball down to the bottom of the barrel with your ramrod. You can mark your ramrod if you know the grainage you're going to use on a typical basis, but you can also feel it. And I'm going to teach you a way that you can feel it, because let's say you only get it down half or you get it down 3/4 of the way. Well, that's a barrel obstruction. This is a miniature explosion that's taken place, and if you cause that, what's going to happen is the explosion is going to go up the barrel, it's going to meet resistance with the obstruction, and then what's going to happen is it's going to explode on you. So always make sure you have it well seated. I'm going to teach you a trick right now that I learned that helps you ensure that you've properly seated the ball. Get your ramrod out. Remember, when you're using your ramrod, you don't have to grab way at the top. Take it in short little strokes, you know what I mean? You ain't got to be a superhero. So a little bit at a time, 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 a little bit at a time. You can feel when you're getting down to the bottom. But you want to be sure that you're getting down to the bottom. Now there is another tool in my box that I want to show you that really helps you a great deal when you're using the ramrod. Not expensive, you could probably make one, but they're so inexpensive that you just go ahead and buy one. And that is this little tool right here. That is this little tool right here. That is a palm saver. Goes right on the top of your ramrod like this. Sits on top of your ramrod like that, and what it enables you to do is get some purchase on that ramrod and really tamp it down. But even after all that, how do you know that you've well seated the ball? How can you be sure? Well, I'm going to show you. You take the ramrod and you throw it down real hard. And when you get that little bit of a bounce there, when you get it to where it'll bounce up, you know that your ball is well seated. See how it's bouncing a little bit? That's how I know that that ball's all the way down at the bottom. You look for that little bounce, then you know you've got a well-seated ball. Now the next thing we're going to do is cap this thing, and that's a whole nother story. Why do you use a capper, Bill? What's the deal with that? Is it just for aesthetics? Is it just for looks? Well, you know that I've loaded 80 rounds of black powder in here. I've got a ball in there. I've got it well seated. And now I'm going to cap it off. Well, what is the purpose of a cap? A cap is to create that spark, to ignite the powder. It's what it's designed to do. It's a kind of a fulminate, and they do what they're designed to do. If you get in a hurry, you're out there hunting, or maybe you're at the range, you're shooting, and you shove that onto the nipple with 80 grains of black powder underneath it, the blowback from that creates quite a bit of pressure. It can take your thumb right off. That's rare, but it can happen. If you've ever seen somebody use a musket cap when they can't find the right nipple for their weapon, you'll see them shoot it, and this is what will exactly happen. They'll shoot it, and there'll be so much back pressure, it'll cock the weapon. Their weapon will be cocked after they shoot. That's how much pressure comes out of that. So So here we are, right? Here's our locking mechanism. We'll pull that back to about half cock and we'll get our capper. And the capper is a real simple tool. Inexpensive, but it can save your thumb. It can save you blowing off your thumb. How do you use it? I'll show you. You take the capper like so, take it over the nipple like that, and you put it on there, and it's just that simple. Look how far away my thumb is from all that action. If there was any kind of mishap or if that cap was weak or I pressed too hard, it would go off and the gun would fire, but I'd still have a thumb. So now we're fully capped. The gun should be ready to go. What we're going to do is we're going to take it all the way to full cock. We're going to see if I can hit this target out at about 110 yards. Let's see what happens here. Now I've got a set trigger on this, and many of the rifles that you're going to get probably will have that. So we're going to pull the set trigger. Now it's set. Now I have a hair trigger. Let's see if I can make contact with the target from right here. Okay, let's see what happens. And I just had a misfire. Do you know why? I purposely did that. I left oil in here and everything, and I kept it kind of dry because I wanted to have a misfire to show you how to fix it. If you have a misfire, and they are common, it does happen, you could try throwing on another cap, see if that works. You can use your nipple prick. At the end of this ramrod, there's a little nipple pick. And what that is, it's just a little wire. Looks like that. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's a little tiny wire. And you can run it down there into the nipple, just to make sure that you're clear. That you have a clear path of fire for that cap to work. So we'll try another cap, see if that doesn't work, and then if that doesn't work, I have another technique I want to show you, want to talk about for when this happens. Okay? So we'll get our capper again. We're going to cap it off. Do the set trigger. Let's see what happens now. Oh, and it still didn't fire. Wow, what are we going to do, Bill? Well, now we're going to have to get what's known as the nipple wrench. Okay, so that's your nipple wrench, your standard nipple wrench. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to back this nipple out. Okay, we get the nipple out. And you can see I've got a bunch of oil in there because that's what I wanted. I wanted to get that failure to fire. What we're going to do, we're going to dump a little bit of powder right into that hole right there. Shake out the excess. Make sure that we get enough into that opening there. We're going to take our nipple. Hope I'm getting this on camera. It's not easy doing this and filming at the same time, but no excuses here. We're can-do Americans. Hear that plane going overhead? That's the reality of YouTube, man. So we're going to get the nipple back on there. A little hard when you get it full of powder like that. Sometimes, if you've maybe overdone it with the powder a little bit, you can get the nipple inside the nipple wrench, get it in the hole there, and just simply turn until you catch a thread. And I'm starting to catch a thread right there. You want to get it good and snug. And now we'll recap it and see if she'll fire. Okay, so we're back. We're going to go ahead and recap it and see if that didn't fix our little problem. Okay, we've got our cap going on there. Set trigger. Let's see what happens now. And that looks like it fixed our problem. So that's something you can do when you get a failure to fire. First thing you do is prick out the nipple. Make sure that you have a clear pathway. Well, first thing you do, fire another cap. It may just be a bad cap, you know, you may have just had some fouling in your cap, and the second cap will blow it out. Third thing you do, or the second thing, is the nipple pick, and then a third thing, run a little powder behind the nipple there, put the nipple back on. That usually fixes the problem. The third thing, or the fourth thing, which is horribly miserable, is to get a ball puller. You get a ball puller, goes on the end of your ramrod. You have to screw that into the lead ball and pull the ball out. Not a lot of fun. Don't recommend it. There's another thing you can do too. You'll see these CO2 dischargers. I don't own one, but they are great. The CO2 discharger goes on the end of your nipple, and it just uses air to blow the ball and the powder and everything right out the barrel. And it's a good safe thing, you know. I mean, it's still pointing in a safe direction. It's a CO2 charger, and it's a little bit of pressure behind that air, but it's enough to get the ball out of your barrel. So those are your options when you have a problem. And little things like that, you don't learn easy. That's not exactly in the manual, but it will help you. Well, hey, let's take another shot, and then I want to tell you about why I had that alcohol in my cleaning kit and how you can use it. You're going to hear the phrase swab out your barrel. What exactly does that mean, swab out your barrel? We're going to go into that in great detail. Let's get another shot off and kind of foul this barrel a little bit, and then we'll go over swabbing it out, okay? Wow. Okay. Now we're going to get into swabbing out the barrel and exactly what that means. And while the reason you swab out is because you're going to have fouling in the barrel. It's going to get harder and harder to ram down a ball. You're going to notice a lot of resistance, and it can goof up your accuracy. It can help your accuracy if you have a loose-fitting ball or loose-fitting patch. You can tighten things up a little bit. There's a happy medium in there, but I've noticed about the third or fourth ball, fifth ball especially, you've got to swab out that barrel to get back to operations. So we're going to swab it out. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, and it's not going to take a long time, and it's not going to foul your gun and delay your time on the range or delay your time on the hunt. When you see how fast this is and how cool this is. A guy named Lewis taught me this from Traditional Black Powder. He taught me to use rubbing alcohol, and it does work pretty good. I understand the old muzzleloaders, you know, the old timers, they used to use rum. Pirates and mountain men, you know, if they had rum or kind of whiskey, they would use that because it had alcohol in it. And it would dry pretty quick inside the barrel, and the idea is that it dries, it doesn't foul your barrel by getting it wet. Remember how the little bit of oil in here, I fired 2 caps, nothing happened. I had to put powder behind the nipple to get it going. That's what happens with moisture. Moisture is not a good thing. You've heard the expression, keep your powder dry. There's a reason for that. But let me show you how to swab out a barrel. Okay, swabbing out. What does it involve? Well, you're going to need this. You're going to need some alcohol, some rubbing alcohol, and you're going to need a patch to swab out. But what size? Where's that listed? How do you know? I'm going to show you. So it's got to be 100% cotton. That's your gold standard. You want your old t-shirts cut up, and the measurement for cutting it up, let's see if I can get that in here. The measurement on that is 2.5 by 5 3/4. So you've got 2.5 on the sides, 5 3/4 in the middle. 5 3/4 this way, 2 3/4 that way. That's a perfect swabbing patch. It works on 50 and 54. And what we're going to do is we're going to douse this with alcohol, swab out the barrel. What do we need to do that? You need a jag for the end of your cleaning rod. And the reason I'm going over it is I know this sounds simple. If you've been muzzleloading a long time, you certainly know what a jag is. But remember when you didn't know and somebody had to show you? That's what this video is about. It's to teach the new shooter the ins and outs of this stuff and some of the little tricks that make life a little bit easier. So we're gonna show everybody what the jag is. Ah, found it. So that right there is the jag, and it screws onto the end of your your muzzle loader there. Well, your ramrod. So let's get it on there. And you can see these ramrods, they have that little hole at the bottom. You take your jag and you put it on there. Just a little twisty. And what that does is it keeps the patch firm against the inside of the barrel. It keeps it from getting stuck in there, hopefully. So we're going to swab this down with some alcohol and get the barrel swabbed out. And wait till you see what comes out of this. You'd be surprised. Okay, so once you get the patch soaked with the alcohol, you take it and you kind of wring it out. You kind of smush it out a little bit, get the excess alcohol out there, and fling it around a little bit, get it nice and get some air in there. Then you throw that wet with rubbing alcohol patch over the end of your barrel. Take your swabbing stick with the appropriate jag on it, and we're going to run it down there all the way to the bottom and all the way to the top, all the way down, all the way to the top. And look at how black that thing is. And then you can get the other side of the patch and get the remainder of what's in there. That's what we'll do now. And now we swabbed out our barrel. As you can see, the patch is nice and black. It's got a lot of the fouling off of there from the few shots that I took. Then you come over here to where your nipple is, and just give that a light little wipe with the rubbing alcohol. It gets all the fouling off the nipple and gets it ready for it to accept the next nipple. Keeps the works from getting gummed up, as it were. So when you get your new rifle, and before you even shoot it, you're going to notice that it's got a lot of writing on it. Especially if it's a newer rifle, made in the last 20 years or so. It wasn't always so, but because of lawsuits and idiots, the first thing that you learn about black powder is only black powder goes in a black powder rifle. But there's always that guy. There's always that guy. This is the kind of guy who slams tequila till 3 o'clock in the morning, gets in the car, and then paralyzes himself, and then calls a lawyer. He wants to sue the tequila maker, he wants to sue the bar, and he wants to sue the car. He wants to get his pockets full. So that's why you see all that writing on these muzzleloaders, and it says for black powder only. There's only 2 things you shoot out of here: black powder or Pyrex. If you put smokeless in this, well, you're pretty thick, because you're going to blow your face up. It's a mini explosion, and this chamber pressure is set for black powder. It's not set for smokeless. It's a whole different creature. But you're going to get guys, they'll try to get a hot load. They'll put just a little bit of smokeless in with the black, and they'll try all this different stuff. Well, they always end up in the emergency room or cashing in their life insurance policy. So just don't do it. That stuff that's written on the side, it's written there for a reason. Black powder only. I'm going to show you a picture of what can happen if you don't listen to this warning I've just given you. And I hope it sinks in, because I think that could save your life, and that's cool. So you get done swabbing out the old Renegade in this case, and you think, I wonder if it's dry. Well, that alcohol dries pretty quick. I swabbed this out, I've reloaded it, and let's see if the old Renegade will talk to us. I'm going to get a cap on it, and let's see what happens. Now, if I had swabbed out with anything else, and I've seen some goofy stuff, moose milk and all kinds of stuff on the range, and normally it fouls out your barrel and wets your powder, and then you're out of commission for a while. But this, I just used the rubbing alcohol. I got it completely clean. I even got my nipple clean. The cap went right on, nice and easy, not fouled at all. Set trigger on, and here we go. Yeah, it worked pretty good. So I've taught you some tricks there. Number 1, only use black powder in a black powder rifle. That'll save your life right there. Number 2, what the nipple wrench is and how to properly clear a malfunction. If you have wet powder, you have a problem. That's one way of doing it. Well, I showed you 5 ways actually. I don't have a CO2 ball charger. I wish I did. That would be kind of cool to show you how that works. Another thing you're going to see on the range with black powder is this. You're going to see guys, they finish taking a shot and they do this number. Now, in any other firearm situation, that is the most dangerous, craziest thing you're ever going to see. Somebody putting their mouth and head over the muzzle of the rifle. That's pretty nutty. With a muzzleloader, it's a little different. There's no other round that could possibly be in here. And the moisture from your breath and all that blows all of that hot air out of there, takes all the ember out of there. Remember we talked about earlier, if you had a hot ember in here, or a piece of patch burning or anything like that, and you were to fill from the flask or you were to fill from your horn, you'd be turning those things into a grenade and kill yourself. Possibly injure yourself, but yeah, you'd kill yourself. Your powder horn blew up, sent shrapnel everywhere, you'd be in bad shape. So blowing down the muzzle certainly does that. Now at the range, they're not going to let you do that because you can imagine how crazy that looks to a range safety officer. This guy's got his mouth and head over the muzzle of the rifle. Doesn't look good to them. But you're going to see a lot of old muzzleloaders, myself included. I think my buddy did it in the video before this one. You blow down the barrel. It becomes a habit after a while because it's done for safety. Doesn't look safe, but it is safe. It is a safety issue, and that's why it's done. So one of the little odd things about muzzleloaders. But I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about how to keep your muzzleloader going with the old Renegade here. And I think my son's going to like the new Hawken that I got him. I hope he likes the new Hawken kit. I think that's a pretty micro kit. I think it has everything you need in it for the range for the day. And you're not lugging around a bunch of stuff. You're more likely to take that rifle out and have some fun with it if you don't have to carry a bunch of stuff with you. And realistically think about it. Do you need to take the whole kitchen sink with you when you go out muzzleloading? You really don't. A lot of that stuff we just have, it's comfort stuff, you know? A lot of the stuff in your box you're never going to use out there. I mean, you're gonna run lead balls. What are you going to, you really need 5 pounds of powder? No, you don't need half that stuff. You need just what you need to shoot. That's why the mountain man had a possible bag and carried what he need for a day's hunt in that possibles bag. So anyway, till the next time I see you, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I did. Next time I see you, until the next time I see you rather, you keep yourself safe, you stay warm, and you stay free.